4 hours later, we are all in the Harley bar. Somehow, we always end up in the Harley bar, a basement sweatbox with vintage motorbikes hanging from the ceiling, where the waitresses wear a house uniform of black bras under fraying sleeveless denim jacket. Springsteen blasts from the jukebox, so we have to yell, 20 trained voice coming down from a post-performance high, plus girlfriends, boyfriends, and hangers-on like me. Jess and a group of us are swapping stories. Stories about acting, of course. It's all we ever talk about. Jess, what about Christian Bale in The Machinist? He lost like a third of his body weight for that role. Actress 2. Or Chloe Sevigny doing a blowjob for real in The Brown Bunny. Actor. Define real in that text. No, I'm just saying. Actress 3. Adrian Brody in The Pianist. First, he lost 30 pounds and learned to play the piano. Then, to know what it felt like for his character to lose everything, he got rid of his car, his apartment, and his phone. Now that, my friend, is commitment. Actress 2. Hey, I could do that. Oh wait, except I currently play a singing, dancing chorus mouse in a Broadway musical. She does a little drunken mouse dance. Actress 2. Mousy mouse, mousy mouse, welcome to my mousy house. Across the room, the barman glances at me, a glance that lingers just a little longer than it needs to. The last time I saw that look was when Rick the scumbag lawyer offered to let me sit at his table. But this guy is my own age, tattooed, cool, and skinny. Despite the icy cold that blows in every time the street door opens, he's wearing just a t-shirt, and the dishcloth he's got tucked into the back of his jeans whisks around his butt every time he turns back to the row of bottles behind the bar. All of a sudden, I'm there, at the bar. Good-looking barman. Hey, he's Australian. I love Australians. Me, hi. And for some reason, I say it in my Virginian accent, the one I used earlier with Rick. Good-looking barman. What can I get you? Me, shouting over the noise. I'd love a martini. Good-looking barman, coming right up. He fills a shot glass to the brim with Jack Daniels and slams it down on the counter. Me, I asked for a martini. Good-looking barman. That's the way we make martinis in this bar. He grins at me, daring me to complain. Nice smile. So I pick up the glass and drain it. Me, in that case, give me a pina colada. Good-looking barman. One pina colada. He splashes a measure of Jack Daniels into a glass, adds another measure of Jack Daniels, and finishes off with a third measure of Jack Daniels. I tip the whole lot down my throat in one log chug. People crowd around the bar break into spontaneous whooping and applause. Applause. Now there's a sound I haven't heard in a while, at least not directed to me, at me. You'd better line me up on a Long Island iced tea while you're at it, which really ought to be a fade out in this movie that's always running in my head, but it isn't. It's a jump cut or a montage sequence or one of those other technical things, because then everything gets messy and jumbled until suddenly I'm in someone else's apartment on top of someone else's body moaning. Me. Yes, yes, oh my god, yes. Random man, yes. Ah, yes, cast change. The good-looking barman, whose name was Brian, didn't get off till 3. So I hooked up with a friend of one of Jess' friends instead. By that time, I was too drunk and too high on the applause to settle for my own bed. Though, if I'm honest, it wasn't only the alcohol or the appreciative audience. The feel of a warm body and someone to hold, that's something I crave after one of Henry's jobs. Because if a woman can't trust the man who said he'd love her forever, who in this world can you trust? And knowing it was me, my skills, my lines, my performance, that helped break up a family always makes me feel weird. I'm not proud of that stuff I do for Henry, but sometimes I am proud of how well I do it. Next morning, I take the subway back to Jess, still wearing her jacket and not much else, ignoring the knowing looks from commuters. One of the exercises Paul makes us do involves going out onto the streets of New York in character and talking to complete strangers. Once you've done that a few times, you develop a pretty thick skin. Ditto sitting in hotel bars and having married men hit on you. That was one of the things that persuaded me to take up Marcy's suggestions, actually, thinking it might be good for my acting as well as my finances. So Marcy hooked me up with Henry. Henry likes to describe himself as a paralegal, but effectively he's the law firm's in-house investigator. He arranged to meet me in a bar, which seemed an odd venue for a job interview until they explained what they wanted me to do. "Think you can handle it?" he'd asked. I shrugged. It wasn't like I had any other options. "Sure." "Good. Go outside, come back in, and try to pick me up. Think of it as an audition." So I went out and came back in again. And because it felt strange to be chatting up this gray-haired older man, it was easier to slip into a character. Just a voice and an attitude. A femme fatale from an old film noir. Lauren Bacall in The Big Sleep, maybe, but it gave me somewhere to hide. I took a seat at the bar and ordered a drink. I didn't even look at the men 2 seats down. "Never hit on them directly," he told me earlier. "Make it clear you're available, but they have to proposition you, not the other way around. The innocent should have nothing to fear." Yeah, right. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that men's brains don't work that way. A dimly lit New York bar day. Reflected in the mirror behind the bar, we see Claire Wright, 25, as she plays with her drink, a little bored. Henry, a lean ex-cop in his early 50s, moves to the next stool. "Henry, are you on your own?" Claire, a smoky, languid drawl. "Well, I was." He glances at her hand. "Henry, I see you're wearing a wedding ring." Claire, "Is that good or bad?" Henry, "It depend." Claire, "On what?" Henry, "On how easily it comes off." Her eyes widen at his audacity. Then Claire, "Now that you mention it, it has been getting a little loose lately. What about you?" Henry, "Am I loose?" Claire, "Are you married?" Henry, "Not tonight." Claire, "Then I guess it's my lucky night." She gives him a look, frank, confident, direct. This is a woman who knows what she wants, and what she wants right now is some fun. Henry, breaking character. "Jesus H. Christ. Me. Did I do that okay? I could try something different." He loosens his collar. Henry, "I almost feel sorry for the bastards." 3 days later, I sat in a quiet bar off Central Park and allowed a businessman to tell me he no longer found his wife attractive. Afterward, I hand his wife the tape and Henry hand me $400. It wasn't a regular job. Some months there'd be 3 or 4 assignments, sometimes none at all. Most of Henry's work was actually what he called spousal surveillance, following people around, trying to catch them in the act. Most of our clients are women, he told me once. Usually they're correct in their suspicions. Maybe they've clocked their husband wearing a fancy shirt to the office, then texting later to say he's been held up. Sometimes it's just a new aftershave, or they've already seen incriminating text on his phone and just want to know what the woman looks like. Men now, they're more likely to be wrong. Back when he was a cop, Henry worked undercover, and he clearly missed the buzz of those days. During the long hours in town cars and hotel lobbies, waiting for our targets to show, he passed the time telling me stories from past operations. You have to see the gray. Criminals instinctively know when you despise or fear them, so you got to make yourself believe whatever they believe in. And that's the dangerous part. Not the guns or the beatings. Some guys, the gray takers hold of them, and they can't make it let go. I tell him he's a method actor without knowing it, and swap him acting stories in return, such as our very first class where Paul had us do a scene from Ibsen. I thought my fellow students were pretty good. Then Paul made us do it again while trying to balance broom handles on our hands. Under the pressure of doing two things at once, we all fell apart. What did you do the first time? What you did that first time wasn't acting, Paul told us. It was pretending. You were copying what you've seen other actors do, but it wasn't real to you. That's why you couldn't do it when you had to put your conscious minds to something else. I'm going to tell you just one thing today, but it's the most important thing I'll ever say to you. Don't think. Acting isn't faking or impersonating. The clue is in the word. Acting is doing. Henry thinks this is all bullshit, but I myself have seen actors in a green room sneezing and snuffling with flu, only to have it dry up the instant they step on stage. I've seen shy introverts become kings and queens, the ugly become beautiful, and the beautiful repulsive. Something happens, something no one can explain. Just for a few moments you become someone else, and that's the best feeling there is in the world. Manhattan's looking like a movie set this morning. Steam vents have made melt holes in the snow, smoking lazily in the sunshine. Last night made a sizable dent in Henry's envelope, but I stop at a deli anyway to get bagels for Jess and me. When I come out, a bunch of kids are fooling around, throwing snowballs, so I scoop up a handful and join them. I can't help thinking, wow, here I am in New York, the New York, taking part in a scene straight out of a movie and studying at one of the best drama schools in the world to boot. The script has a happy ending after all. Is it just me who does this, who feels they're constantly watching themselves in the movie of their own life? When I ask my friends, most claim they don't, but they must be lying. Why else would you become an actor if not to edit reality? Even if I've just remembered that the scene playing in my head, the one with the New York snowball fight, is from that terrible movie Elf. As I let myself in, I catch voice from Jess' room. She's on a Skype call with Aaron, her boyfriend, who's doing a commercial in Europe. I have a quick shower, check the jacket's not looking too bad, then knock on her door. Breakfast, rent, and Ms. Donna Karen, I tell her brightly. Any reviews? Every morning, the first thing Jess does is check the internet to see if anyone's blogged about her. She shakes her head. Nothing, but my agent emailed. I have a go-see with a producer who saw the show last night. That's great, I say, trying not to sound too envious. And how was your night? Her voice is carefully neutral. I looked for you about two, but you'd left. Oh, it was good. She sighs. Bullshit, Claire. It was empty, meaningless sex with a total stranger. That too, I say lightly. I worry about you sometimes. Why? I always carry a condom. I meant safe life, not safe sex, as you very well know. I shrug. I'm not about to get into a conversation with Jess about my love life or lack of it. When all's said and done, she's got a family, and if people with families don't understand. I hang up the jacket and raid Jess' panty drawer for clean underwear. At the bottom, my fingers encounter something small and hard and heavy. I pull it out. It's a gun. An actual gun. Well, Jesus, Jess, I say stunned. What the fuck is this? She laughs. My dad made me get it. You know, just in case. The big bad city and all that. And you worry about me? I say incredulously. I point the gun at my reflection in her mirror. You got to ask yourself, punk, does that color suit ya? Careful, I think it's loaded. Yikes! Gingerly, I put the gun back and take out some red Alea leggings. Then again, she adds, I might need to shoot the person who keeps stealing my clothes. There's $350 in the envelope. Well, $320 at least. Actually, that's something else my dad's getting a bit weird about, Jess says it casually, but I pick up the underlying tension in her voice. Oh, I say, equally cool. He's between jobs, so he's not getting a salary, and it's like this apartment in his pension or something. He kinda wants me to tell you to move out. This is not good. What did you say? I say, what if Claire paid you all the back rent she owes? Which is what, another $400? Jess shakes her head. 7. Anyway, he wasn't too happy. Said he'd think about it, but he'd have to be paid in advance from now on too. I stare at her. But that means finding $1,100. I know, I'm sorry, Claire. I tried to argue, but he's got this whole thing about me being fiscally irresponsible. How long have I got? I can hold him off for a bit, a few weeks maybe. Great, I say bitterly, but I know it's not Jess' fault. My room is easily big enough for a couple, and the East Village location would be perfect for young professionals working in the financial district. Her dad could be getting a lot more. There's a long silence. Jess picks up her play script and starts leafing through it. I have to go over this. Jack's given me a note. The forest scene still isn't nuanced enough, apparently. Want me to read lines? Would you? She tosses me the script, and I find the page, though I probably know it by heart. You can forget Romeo and Juliet. Done right, this is the sexiest scene in Shakespeare. And Shakespeare, despite most people thinking he's culture and stuffy and not relevant anymore, wrote the best characters ever. Jess starts as Hermia. Be it so, Lysander, find you out a bed, for I upon this bank will rest my head. She lays back, arranging her limbs for sleep. I go and lay down next to her. One turf shall serve as pillow for us both, one heart, one bed, 2 bosoms, and 1 troth. Uncomfortable, she wriggles away. Nay, good Lysander, for my sake, my dear, lay further off yet, do not lay so near. It's a classic example of where the words on the page say one thing, but the actor just knows the character means something else entirely. Lysander really wants to screw Hermia's brains out, and despite all the beautiful poetry, he'll say anything to get what he wants. He's a man, right? And Hermia, although she knows she probably shouldn't let him sleep so closed, fancies him back. She only wants him further away so she won't give in to temptation. Text and subtext. I get up on one elbow, looking down at her. Oh, take the sense, sweet of my innocence. But even as I stare longingly into Jess' eyes, there's a part of me that's screaming, $1,100? Even Henry's jobs can't provide that sort of cash. Suddenly, I'm faced with the prospect that this whole fragile fantasy is going to collapse around me like a stage set between scenes. No money means no apartment. No apartment means no class. No class means no visa. I'll have to limp home with my tail between my legs to a country where no one will ever employ me as an actor again. I drop my lips toward Jess. Sis. For a fraction of a second, she's tempted. I can see the confusion in her eyes. Then she pulls away. Jess. Lysander riddles very prettily, meaning he's a pretty good kisser, and then he tries to kiss me again, yada yada yada, and we're back. I roll off her bed. Seemed pretty nuanced to me. You know, Jess says wistfully, you're so much better than that jerk I'm really playing that scene against. I'm sorry, Claire, there's no justice. Tell me about it, as they say over here, meaning please don't, nobody's listening.